Alright, truth and love, everybody. It's Krista Laura here with Learning Thyself. And I'm here to tell you things that I'm learning about myself in hopes that it helps you along your journey. So, jumping right into it, the difference between passion and anger and the fear of fire. I had a meeting with somebody yesterday who I love and respect very much. So, no shots, you know what I'm saying? She asked me about my anger, and I said, long story short, why anger? Why are you asking me, how my anger is? And she said, during a meeting that we had last time, was a subject that was brought up that I seemed to be very angry about it. And so, I said I wasn't angry. I was just very passionate. You have to understand, because we're both speakers. But I said you have to understand that I allow the ancestors to speak through me. They have a lot to say. They have a lot of feelings as well. And it wasn't anger that was coming out. I was just very passionate about, implementing another option for something that seems so repetitive that in the topic that what we were talking about. I had another option and idea, something to add on to, something that was really going to help people and break the chain, break cycles. And I'm very passionate about that. I'm very passionate about breaking chains. I'm very passionate about breaking cycles, and I'm very passionate when I speak. And a lot of times people don't realize that, when I speak, they think that I'm angry. I'm not. I'm just very passionate. And so, why does passion and anger seem to be misconstrued? They are both the element of fire. Okay, I'm going to get into the chakra aspect of it a little bit later, but I'm just going to get to the basics of it. They're both are represented by the element of fire. When you see someone that's extremely angry, you may see a red aura around them, or, when someone's angry, they may see red. And when you think of red, and like I said, I'll get into the chakra aspect of it, but when you think of fire, you think mainly the colors of red, orange, and yellow. And so, if somebody's angry, automatically to the spirit or to the subconscious, you say, oh, that's a fiery motherfucker. You know what I'm saying? If you see someone that's passionate, you may see the same thing. You may say the same thing. You say, wow, this person's moving here, there, and everywhere. They're doing big things. They got a fire under their belly. So either way, both are represented by this element of fire. Now I want to talk about seeing through the veil of fear. Okay? We are so fearful of fire. And this brings me back to that cartoon. If you ever watched the Avatar, The Last Airbender, and it's about people in 4 different nations that have the ability to control and bend elements. So you got a nation that can control water, you got a nation that can do fire, you got a nation for air, you got a nation for earth. And Zuko, which was a prince of the Fire Nation who got kicked out, and he was angry that his father abandoned him, and angry about a lot of stuff that happened in his life. He's a firebender, and he used anger to fuel the power behind his bending. And then later on in the episode, he goes from evil to good and learns how to use passion and love in order to fuel the power of his bending. All right. Because either way, when you think about anger and when you think about passion, it's about power. And the element of fire is not the only element that has power. They all have great, immense power, but it's the one that we're fearful of the most. And in this cartoon, the ones that the nation that was feared the most was the Fire Nation. All right. So full circling to the fear. A lot of times we are so fearful of our own fire. Because we're fearful of our own power. We're scared to be There's a lot of us who are scared to be angry, and so they don't want to seem like they're a bad person, um and then a lot of us are scared to be passionate. Well, I don't want to leave anybody behind, or I don't want to seem like I'm better than anybody. There's just so much fear wrapped up in the element of fire. So here's where I'm going to get to the chakra aspect of it. And if you don't know chakras, you can always look it up. I probably might do a video of chakras, how I came across it. But we're just going to go through the first three chakras, but our focus is going to be on the solar plexus chakra, the solar chakra, the chakra of the sun, okay, where all the fire comes from. And even if you're not into chakras, just follow what I'm saying as a bullet point, if you will. It's they're almost like bullet points to the body, to all embodiments that we have. The third chakra, which is at the top of the stomach, or called the plexus, in medical terms, I'm pretty sure it's called the plexus or the solar plexus. No different than what the third chakra is called. So it's at the top of your gut, where the intuition is, where the nervous system is, and where our intuition lies. All right, so there's a lot at play here. It's where the digestion happens. I'm hoping you can hear me well. It's already getting windy, but messages are coming through. And I like to take my time when I do my reading, when I do my videos, because I don't want to miss anything, but there's so many downloads that I get at once. So if you have to fast forward the video, as in like no, when you could turn up the speed on a video, do that. The solar plexus chakra has a lot to do with passion, but it has a lot to do with anger. And when it's balanced, there's this life that we feel. Fire is also life, okay? And so you feel passionate. You feel a sense of confidence. You're out there and you're outgoing. But the main thing that we feel, whether we realize it or not, when the solar plexus chakra is imbalanced, is shame. That is the main thing that we deal with in that particular chakra. It's a lot of shame. We don't realize how much shame we feel. And we can actually tell just by the way we eat, if we really pay attention to it. So we a lot of times feel shameful, and these are the things that I have felt shameful of. We feel shameful when we want to be passionate about something. We feel shameful that we're angry. We feel shameful about the mistakes that we've made in our lives. We feel ashamed of things that's happened to us, and things are still kept secret. There's so much shame that we feel, and this is where our shame sits, at the top of the stomach. So that's why a lot of times our intuition might be off, or we have a hard time trusting our intuition, because unfortunately we put more trust in shame. Um, a lot of times we cannot digest the shame that is sitting inside of us because our concentration is more on the food that we digest, and our senses are spiked, and so we are more attached to what our senses is giving us. We feel that um, our senses are fulfilling us, and we become disconnected to the spirit of shame that has been grown in the top of our stomachs. All right. And so what happens is, when it comes to the fire aspect of it, excuse me, when it comes to the fire aspect of it, we feed our fear, and so we will more so feed our anger, or we could feed our passion, or we end up just putting out the fire altogether. All right. I hope you're following what I'm saying here. I know it's a chunky one. This is like a good chunky salsa for the chips. um, and all this to say, due to our fears, which the first chakra, the root chakra, that's where all of our fears sit, and it's the chakra that grounds us to this earth plane. And that the color associated with that one is red. When it comes to the sacral chakra, which is about an inch or two under the belly button, that is our sexual chakra, and that chakra is the color orange, which deals with a lot of guilt. And so then you go up to the solar plexus chakra, which is the color of yellow. And if you think about fire, like I said earlier in this video, you think about the three main colors, which is red, orange, and yellow. But fire can also be blue, and it can be green, and it can be the rest of the colors. And if you watch Avatar: The Last Airbender, you'll see that when he gains his passion, that his colors rise up differently. All right, so yeah, my hand getting numb. um. So when it comes to anger, instead of dealing with shame in a compassionate way, which deals with the heart chakra, but that's going to be for another video, because we don't deal with our fears and we don't deal with ourselves in a compassionate and forgiving way, we feed our fears, we feed our guilt, and we feed our shame. And so many of us are going to react differently. Some of us will use that fire in an aggressive way. And we program our minds to believe that's what fire is for. And then you got people who shut down altogether, that will just dampen their fire. They shut down. They don't want to. They're not angry about their shame. They're not angry at themselves about the guilt and shame and fear that they feel. They just shut it down altogether because it's something they don't want to deal with. Number 3, you will alchemize your fear, your guilt, and your shame, and you'll say, you know what? Yeah, I may feel shameful of this. I may feel guilty of that. I may feel fearful of this. And I'm hoping you can hear me clear. This wind is kicking in. But I'm gonna do what I can to turn it around. And then we feed our fire for passion. Okay? So you're either one of 3 people, or you maybe have been through all 3 experiences. It can be a combination of things. You could have been passionate from the get-go, and then all of a sudden you started to fuel for anger, and then you just shut down. Or maybe you came from a place where you were always shut down, and then you started to feel anger, and then you were like, okay, let's go to passion. It can be a combination of things. but we still so often operate our fires with fear. And so we have to keep in mind that fire can be destructive. We've seen the damage that fire can do. But we also have to, and this is why it's important to stay grateful, we also have to remember that fire is also for digestion. So, a lot of times we'll burn wood to keep ourselves warm. And that's not about destruction, it's about the fire digesting the element of earth so that it can alchemize and help us to stay warm and help our bodies. Also, the same thing when it comes to food and digestion. If we eat with love, we eat with gratitude, and we love what we eat, and we know it's going to love our bodies back and love our minds and spirit and soul back, then our fires are used to digest not only the food itself, but it's to digest the information that that food holds. Okay, so when you're eating fruits and vegetables and stuff like that, because it comes from the earth, it's digesting earth element in order to alchemize and bring up through us information that the earth has. Okay, fire, like I said, can also be destructive. If we're feeling a certain way, we'll eat something and it's destructing our bodies. Okay, so we have to let go of the fear of fire, and we have to start giving thanks for every element. Now, a lot of times these fires can be misconstrued, because when you see fire, there is a signal and an alarm that goes off in the back of our minds and in the forefront of our minds. If you see fire, say, and let's look at it this way. You see the element of fire from a distance, and you say to yourself, oh no, there's a fire. But you see the top of the flames. You don't really see where it's really coming from. You just kind of see it from a distance. You'll see the fire and you'll see the smoke, and so you're alarmed. And you may want to do something about it. Either you stay away from it, or you go towards it and see what you can do, or you may just explore the path of the fire and see what that's bringing you. And a lot of times, that's what happens in conversations. That's what happens when we're just trying to communicate, is that you'll see a fire, and then, or you'll sense a fiery person, and automatically, because we're stuck in so much fear, we say to ourselves, oh no, I need to stay away. I need to stay away because I don't want to get burned, right? So you're that same person who sees that fire. Now, you go towards the fire. You see that these flames are actually bigger than you thought. They're huge. It's like, wow, okay, this is starting to get scary. Some of us will go back, we will retreat, and pretend we never saw that fire. Some of us will go and just stand there and wonder about the fire. Or some of us will go and continue to further explore the fire. You get all the way down towards the fire, and see, and when I say that, that's the kind of person you may be in a conversation. You may retreat from the conversation and act like you never had the conversation, or just not go further with it. Or some people in a conversation, they will also get fired up, and that's when their anger comes through. That's when their fear comes through. And so they're in defense mode. Or you got some people who will explore that fire. They will breathe and they will listen, and they'll explore and they'll see what's going on. Okay. But then you get all the way down to the fire, and you start seeing people clap. You start seeing people roast marshmallows. You start seeing that it's actually a bonfire. And when you get all the way towards the end and you see where this fire is really coming from, it's actually peaceful. It's actually loving, and it's beautiful. And when you get towards the end of a conversation with somebody, and you listen all the way through, and you explored that fire with not fear. I mean, you may have fear come up, rightfully so, that's okay, but you were able to alchemize that fear by breathing and trusting yourself and saying, let me just see what this is about, or let me just see what this person has to say. Let me just see where this is all going. And then you can see that it wasn't anger at all, that all this time this person with fiery energy was actually speaking with passion. You see what I'm saying? You see how cool that fucking full circle is. And I'm trying not to curse so much because there's kids behind me on the hill playing around, but this is the beauty that fire can bring. And we'll never know the beauty of not just fire, but the elements, if we continue to walk our paths with fear. There's times where our alarm systems are just so extra because our fears are so extra. And we're allowed to have alarm systems, don't get me wrong. We're supposed to. Our body's made up of alarm systems. But once we choose to defeat our fears, the right alarm system will go off at the right time instead of being automatically alarmed. That's what paranoia is. Constant paranoia, constant fear. Is somebody gonna do something to me, or am I not gonna be heard, or whatever your fears may be. Once you start pushing through your fears instead of trying to get over it or trying to get under it, you have to push through it. And sometimes you're gonna get burned. It happens. Okay? But much like a rising phoenix, what part of you is actually getting burned? Okay? It's gonna be one or two parts of you that's gonna get burned. We understand that there's times where we have had innocent moments in our lives and we have gotten burned by unexplained fires. But then there's times where, and that's where our alarms go off the most, is that when we're young and we're innocent and the world seems to burn us and we don't understand why, we are just now alarmed. We carry that with us. The wind is kicking through. But then, as we get older, we realize that there's going to be parts of our ego that needs to be burned. But that ego was the ones that was protecting us in the first place. You guys have to give me a second. This wind is really kicking through. I'm saying something like real. When we go through trauma, our egos will kick in very quickly in order to protect us. When we forget that we are protected by our ancestors, by our spirit guides and all that. But in our human experience, our egos will kick in to protect us. And as we get older, we hold on to it thinking that that's what's going to continue to protect us, when actually it starts to harm us. And so your ego is the one that's going to have to be burned, because it needs to be alchemized in order for it to be able to better balance with our higher selves. Okay? So all this to say, don't be scared of your fire. Alright? I know some people are scared of their passion. Well, if I'm so passionate about what I'm doing and not everybody else is passionate with me, I'm afraid I'm going to leave them behind. I'm afraid that they're just going to turn on me. I'm afraid of this, I'm afraid of that. And when you feel angry, it's okay to feel angry. Just don't continue to fuel the anger. Okay? But you're allowed to feel angry. But people don't want to feel that because, oh, they're a bad person, or they're not of God, and that's not it at all. We have human experiences and it's okay. We just have to do our best to be as balanced as possible. All right, so um that's the difference between passion and fear, and that is my truth, that is my experience, that's what I've learned. I love you guys so much. Please continue to stay tuned to my videos. Also, you can check me out on TikTok at Krista Elora. And you can go to my website, arisingphoenix.org. I need to start putting the descriptions on the bottom because I'm not going to be naming all of my accounts. You can also find me on Instagram, 2 different Instagrams. I'll put them all down. And come check me out. All right, I love you guys. Peace.